Hello, today I'm looking at Majjhima Nikaya number 43, the Mahavedalla Sutta, and this is translated as the greater series of questions and answers. The location is Savatthi in Jetta's Grove, Savatthi. The people involved are Sariputta, who is one of the leading followers of Buddha, and Mahakatita. Now, Sariputta's responding to questions from Mahakatita throughout this discourse. So first off, Mahakatita asks Sariputta, who is one who is unwise? And Sariputta replies, one who does not fully understand the Four Noble Truths is unwise. And who is one who is wise? One who wisely understands the Four Noble Truths, replies Sariputta. And with reference to what is consciousness said? It refers to the recognition of what is pleasant or not pleasant, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And wisdom and consciousness, are these states related? It is impossible to separate them, for what one understands with wisdom, one cognizes. Wisdom is to be developed, consciousness is to be fully understood. And with reference to what is feeling said? Feeling, it feels pleasure, it feels pain, it feels neither pain nor pleasure. And perception, with reference to what is perception said? Perception, it perceives blue, yellow, red, white. And feeling, perception and consciousness, are they conjoined or disjoined? Can they be separately described? Sariputta replies, they are conjoined. It is not possible to separate them, for what one feels, then one perceives, and what one perceives, that one cognizes. So what can be known by purified mind consciousness released from the five faculties was the next question. Now the five faculties, I believe, refers to faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. Or it's also translated as confidence, effort, mindfulness, concentration and discernment. So the answer is purified mind consciousness released from the five faculties. The base of infinite space can be known thus, space is infinite. So too the base of infinite consciousness can be known thus, consciousness is infinite. The base of nothingness can be known thus, there is nothing. So with what does one understand a state that can be known, is the question. It can be understood with the eye of wisdom. And what is the purpose of wisdom? Its purpose is direct knowledge, full understanding and abandoning. And how many conditions are there for the arising of right view? There are two. The voice of another and wise attention. And by how many factors is right view assisted to achieve deliverance of mind and deliverance by wisdom? There are five factors. Right view is assisted by virtue, by learning, by discussion, by serenity and by insight. And the next question is, how many kinds of being are there? Sariputta replies, there are three kinds of being. The ones in the sense sphere being, the senses being the six senses, translation of Kamaloka. The fine material being, translated as Rupa Loka. And immaterial being, translated from Arupa Loka. So Arupa Loka experience here is meditative rather than sensory, and Arupa Loka being entirely of mind with no physical form or location. And how is renewal of being in the future generated? It is in the enjoyment of this and that on the part of beings who are hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. And how is renewal in the future not generated? With the fading away of ignorance, with the arising of true knowledge, and with the cessation of craving. And the next question is, what is the first jhana? And the reply is, secluded from sensual pleasure and unwholesome states, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. And how many factors does the first jhana have? There are 5 factors in the first jhana: applied thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, unification of mind. And how many factors are abandoned in the first jhana, and how many factors are possessed? 5 of each, Sariputta replies. Abandoned are sensual pleasure, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse, and doubt, otherwise known as the 5 hindrances. These that occur are applied thought, sustained thought, rapture, pleasure, unification of the mind. Mahakatita then asks, there are 5 faculties that are separate and experience their own domain: the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue and the body. What is their purpose? Sariputta replies that to feed the mind is their purpose, creating mind experiences. And what are the 5 faculties dependent upon? They are dependent upon the vitality of the life force. And what is the life force dependent upon? It is dependent upon heat. And what is heat dependent upon? Heat is dependent upon vitality. How can this be? Sariputta replies by way of a simile. Just as when an oil lamp is burning, its radiance is seen in dependence on its flame, and its flame is seen in dependence on its radiance, so too, vitality stands in dependence on heat, and heat stands in dependence on vitality. Are vital formations things that can be felt, or are they one thing, and things that can be felt another? And now vital formations are described as those aspects of bodily functions that are necessary, and involuntary. So like the blood flow, kidney function, and so on. The things that keep us ticking over. So the question is, are vital formations things that can be felt, or are they one thing and things that can be felt another? And Sariputta replies, vital formations are not things that can be felt. If they were, then a bhikkhu who has entered the deepest jhana would never emerge from it. Because vital formations are separate from things that can be felt, then a bhikkhu can emerge from the state of cessation of perception and feeling. So I interpret this as being that a practiced meditator can close down the sight, smell, taste, touch, etc. But the meditator cannot and does not want to close down the vital functions that keep the body going. So the questions continue. So when the body is bereft of its many states, and is it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log? That is, what is the difference between a bhikkhu who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling and the bhikkhu who is dead, completed his time? Sariputta replies, in the case of one who is dead, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided, his verbal formations have ceased and subsided, his mental formations have ceased and subsided, his vitality is exhausted, his heat dissipated, and his faculties fully broken up. In other words, dead. In the case of cessation of perception and feeling, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided, his verbal formations have ceased and subsided, his mental formations have ceased and subsided, but his vitality is not exhausted, his heat has not dissipated, and his faculties become exceptionally clear. That is the difference. The next question is, so how many conditions are there for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind? Sariputta replies, there are 4 conditions. 1, the abandonment of pleasure and pain. 2, the previous disappearance of joy and grief. 3, to enter upon and abide in the 4th jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and 4, purity of mind due to equanimity. And how many conditions are there for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind? Now the word signless I understand to be translated from animita. So nimitta means a sign, and animita, no sign. So the question is, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the signless deliverance of the mind? Sariputta replies, there are 2 conditions: non-attention to all signs, attention to the signless element. And how many conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of the mind? To that there are 3 conditions. 1, non-attention to all signs. So that's being, I think, I translate as fully conscious, yet without experiencing the 5 senses. 2, attention to the signless element. And 3, prior determination of its duration. And the next one is, how many conditions are there for emergence from the signless deliverance of the mind? Sariputta replies, there are 2 conditions. 1, attention to all signs, or nimitta as it says, and non-attention to the signless element. So the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, the signless deliverance of mind, are these all the same thing, is the question. Sariputta, there is a way these states are different, and a way in which they are the same in meaning and only different in name. How so? Well, immeasurable deliverance of mind, this is when a bhikkhu has a mind imbued in totality with a mind of loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, equanimity. And through nothingness, he surmounts the base of infinite consciousness. Aware that there is nothing, the bhikkhu enters and abides in the base of nothingness. And the deliverance of mind through voidness, this is where a bhikkhu in seclusion thinks thus: this is void of a self and what belongs to self. And the signless deliverance of mind, here, with non-attention to all signs, the 5 senses, a bhikkhu enters upon and abides in the signless concentration of mind. And so how are these states one in meaning and different only in name, is the question. Greed, hate and delusion, these are the limitations. In a bhikkhu, where the taints are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root and no longer subject to future arising. The unshakable deliverance of mind is void of greed, hatred and delusion. So too with the other states. The deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, the signless deliverance of the mind. Each is void of greed, hatred and delusion. This is the way these states are one in meaning and different only in name. And that is the end of Sutta number 43, Majjhima Nikaya number 43. Thanks for watching.